You all laughed. You all laughed. And look now, Crookie, they're not laughing anymore, are they?
Well, as Mrs. Crook, massive Arsenal fan, put it to me this morning, she has never seen me smile so much, and that probably includes our wedding day.
Man United have beaten the two contenders realistically for the Premier League title. We have beaten them back to back. Why can't you just enjoy that moment?
I've remembered actually what it's like to be a Man United fan.
Do you
I
remember
feel
being
invigorated.
on top?
Look at these fixtures, guys. We might win 7 games in a row.
Oh,
this doesn't feel like a false dawn. If you said to me now, on form, would you rather keep an ageing Bruno Fernandes or bring in a younger model in Cole Palmer? I'm going to stick with Bruno, guys. I'm going to stick with Bruno.
Hello and welcome to Inside Devils, our weekly Man United show, bringing you everything coming out of Old Trafford. And Michael Carrick has done it again. 2 wins out of 2. He's got the better of Arteta again for the second time. And we now sit in the top 4. We're in the top 4. We had to record earlier today. That's how excited we are, as we couldn't wait any longer to get started. So let's bring in Alex Crook and Angelina Kelly, because I tell you what, Crookie, you haven't stopped doing the Cunha dance since I've seen you outside the Emirates, mate. He came out of the Emirates media settings, media lounge, media department on a surfboard. He was uncontainable. People were taking selfies with Crookie and I. They were all excited. The Arsenal fans were fuming, making up excuses. Crookie, it's been absolutely unreal what's happened in the last 2 weeks under Michael Carrick. Sum up the mood at our football club. What has happened?
Well, as Mrs. Crook, massive Arsenal fan, put it to me this morning, she has never seen me smile so much, and that probably includes our wedding day, to be honest.
Someone else said that to me as well who came to my wedding. They was like, I didn't even see you this happy on your wedding day.
I've been bouncing around the house. The kids have been singing the Michael Carrick song just to wind up the missus even further. But yeah, it was a brilliant afternoon, wasn't it? And we've had so much dross served up in the last decade or so, and certainly in the last few years as well. You've got to enjoy these moments. A first win on Arsenal soil since 2017. Michael Carrick maintaining his 100% record against Mikel Arteta, let's not forget, and maintaining his unbeaten run over 2 spells as United manager. And what more could he have done? He's beaten the top 2 in the league. He's gone to Fortress Emirates and become the first manager to win there since May. He's won the Manchester derby. Got to back it up against Fulham this weekend.
Yeah, he does have to back it up against Fulham this weekend. And are we allowed to get carried away? I know you're quite measured. You've been measured in our really bad times. Yeah. And since we've been doing Inside Devils, I haven't been on shows with you where we've been in really good times. No. So this is uncharted territory for me. So I'm coming to you, Ange, and saying, your state of measurement, are we allowed to be carried away, or do we need to just rein it back in and remember there's like a long way to go with Carrick still?
I just think, regarding, Carrick's future and all that stuff, we'll get into that later, but I think regarding the result, like, why can't we get a bit carried away? Why can't we get a bit excited? And again, we've spoken about, the top 4, and we'll get into all of that later, but just the fact that Man United have beaten the 2, well, you could throw Aston Villa in there as well, but the 2 contenders realistically for the Premier League title, we have beaten them back to back. Why can't you just enjoy that moment and get excited? Like, how long has it been since we've had these moments, since you've watched these games? And the thing is, like, Man United didn't just, like, oh, God, they were lucky to get that win. They beat them both very competently. Like, they scored goals that people can't score. You're going up against Arsenal, supposedly the best defence in Europe at the moment. Man United are going up against them and scoring goals that you wouldn't even believe could be scored. 2 of those goals were contenders for goals of the Premier League season. Absolutely incredible. So I just think, why not get a bit excited? Why not just be in this moment like, you know what? This feels like the old Man United. How long has it been since we've been able to go into these games like with a bit of confidence, with our chest pumped up? Like, yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic, and it's a bit weird because we've not felt this for a while, and it's like, can I be excited? I say, just go for it.
I'm so glad you said that.
Excited about it.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, there's not much else going on. Yeah, we've got about 16 games. Yeah, we don't know who our manager's going to be. Yeah, the owners are rubbish. Whatever, don't care. We've just beat City and Arsenal. So if you can't celebrate that, then you shouldn't be a fan.
100% agree with you. I think that's been for me. I've enjoyed feeling like this.
Yeah.
Like, it's been so long that I've forgotten what it's like to puff out your chest sometimes and go, I've got some good players. I think we're going to win this game against the best teams. We've been tricked. We've actually been tricked with trying to get into this character of feeling okay, of getting battered every week, or having no chance of winning the game, or feeling this sense of apathy. It's not okay.
Worn down.
And you know what I was thinking about the other day? I was like, listen, if anyone's talking about patience and like fall from graces and stuff, Man United fans know about that. We are so patient.
Most patient fans.
We are the most patient fans. And to the point where we get borderline deluded, where we think we're back, or we start accepting mediocrity and the bar's really low. Since Sir Alex Ferguson's left, we know that. We know how bad it's been. But in the last 14 months under Ruben, we went to depths and places that we've never been before as Man United fans, both factually, statistically, emotionally, psychologically, everything. We went to places that started to become the norm. And these last 2 games, however short-lived it may be, because people were trying, cast down on our feelings now, however short it may be, right? I've remembered actually what it's like to be a Man United fan.
Do you
I feel
remember being
invigorated.
in the top 4?
Exactly.
Like, when I saw that table, and I know I've said things about the top 4, but to just see us in there, I was like my heart felt
legitly
warm.
there.
Like, it was,
legitly there. And to all those Arsenal fans, to all you smug Arsenal fans who called us deluded, who said we ain't got a chance, who said you're just getting carried away after 1 game, and to all the rival fans, all the other neutral fans, Liverpool fans, Chelsea fans, Tottenham fans, whoever, looking in after us winning 1 game and going, look at them, it's going to get battered by Arsenal. All of you guys can hold that. Every single one of you. I've been so shameless in these last 24 hours, 48 hours. I've been going on every single video, including Inside Devils, when they said, oh, look at him, he's just talking about passion and running around and United DNA. You all laughed. And look now, Crookie, they're not laughing anymore, are they?
They're not laughing anymore, and I agree with Angelina. It's not a fluke, these 2 wins. Two very different game plans against City. It was all about high energy, getting in behind, hitting the flanks, trying to put them on the back foot. Against Arsenal, I thought it was a much more measured approach. I was actually a bit frustrated, I'll be honest, watching the first half an hour of the game because it felt a bit laboured, a little bit one-paced. But I think that was the plan. Slow the tempo down, keep hold of the ball, frustrate the players and the Arsenal fans. You talk about the Arsenal fans, I couldn't believe it at half-time. The place was silent.
They're a bag of nerves, Crookie.
But it was 1-1 at that stage. And very quickly, the Arsenal fans began to get on the players' backs, particularly after that brilliant second goal that we scored. And as good a finish as that was from Patrick Dorgu, go back and watch the build-up. The way United dominated the ball pretty much from the start of the second half for those full 5 minutes until Dorgu smashed one in Yeboah style off the underside of the crossbar. It was a Michael Carrick masterclass. And I don't want to get carried away because we have been here before. We've got a group of players who turn up in the big games and then let you down in the games they could win. But look at these fixtures, guys. Fulham at home. Tottenham, who are having a dreadful season at home. Crystal Palace, who can't buy a win. I think I didn't have any grey hairs last time Palace won a game. We got them at home. West Ham away. Everton away. Everton are struggling to put wins on the board at Hill Dickinson. We might win 7 games in a row.
Oh, Frank's getting his hair cut. He's getting his hair cut.
He might get 2 haircuts. He might cut his hair and then all of a sudden it hasn't even grown back yet. He's got to cut it again at this stage.
This doesn't feel like a false dawn. Again, I know we've been there before, but I look at the performances over Carrick's 2 spells in charge. Actually, I think we forget how well he did. Those 3 matches he had after Ollie and before Wreck-It Ralph came in. I think he's got something, Listen, I'm not going to do a Gary Neville or Rio Ferdinand. I'm not slapping down a 10-year contract and saying, let's give him the job now. And those conversations are for much further down the line. But I do think we've got a manager who knows what he's doing. He knows the United DNA. He knows what formation to pick. He knows that Kobbie Mainoo should be one of the first names on the team sheet. And you talk about feeling vindicated. The number of people that I've been battered by for saying that Ruben Amorim's biggest mistake was not spotting the potential in Kobbie Mainoo. I still think this boy is a generational talent. I feel like I've been proved right in the last couple of games. He bossed the midfield. Arsenal's midfield has been so good this season. Ødegaard and Zubimendi didn't see out the game. They were hauled off after an hour because Mainoo was owning it in their own backyard.
Yeah, listen, I can't disagree with you. I don't think anyone can. You wrote about two players, Crookie, that Carrick's revived at Old Trafford. How important have they been, and has that been what the pivotal points have been in the recent success?
Yeah, I mean, I think putting Cobby back in midfield has been massive because it was an area that we've struggled all season. I think Patrick Dorgu, I'm waiting for the apology from Angelina.
Oh, we'll get there.
Come on,
She
I
did
apologised
apologise
last week.
Yeah, but this is like I think there might need to be another level of apology.
Sorry,
What do you mean, no, sorry? He's flipping just put it in the top corner.
Yeah, I've said he's a fantastic winger. I'm still not having him as a left wing back. He's still not been great.
Well, that's fine. Left wing back. We never want to see him play there ever again.
But as a winger, fine. Once again, Patrick Dorgu, congratulations. And I am sorry for being hard on you. Okay, we've said it now.
She's owned it.
I'm not doing it again.
Over to you.
But no, he was amazing.
But yeah, putting him out wide, I think has been a masterstroke. I feel a little bit for Benjamin Šeško because it's not great, is it, when you come in for massive money, you've got a new manager, and he leaves you on the bench for these two big games. But it's worked, and Mbeumo's the false number 9, has worked in both those matches, and he's in-game management as well. He's not doing what Ruben Amorim did, and this feels like an assassination job on the previous manager, but he's not taking off 2 centre-backs in the final 20 minutes every week. He's making positive, impactful changes. I was a bit worried when Cunha came on because I thought Mbeumo was having such a good game against that usually watertight Arsenal defence, but he was clearly knackered. He ran himself into the ground. Cunha comes on, straight away he gets on the ball, he makes stuff happen, and obviously he scores an incredible goal. And actually he brought Šeško on at the right time as well. So Michael Carrick, he's not put a foot wrong so far in these first 2 games.
You look at Harry Maguire and Lisandro Martinez, absolutely colossal in the last 2 games. Harry Maguire out for a really long spell before that Manchester City game as well. I remember Carrick saying, I think he only had like 2 or 3 training sessions in like 8 weeks of like full intensity training sessions. How good have they been? And are they now just the nailed-on centre-back partnership now for the end of the season? Of course, you've got young Lenny Yoro in there. Aidan Heavens come in and done well where he could. But those two in the last 2 games have been unplayable.
I think both of them, it's been such a long time since the 2 of them have been fit and been able to play together.
Exactly.
You always forget. But I think when they are both fit, they have always been, well, maybe not always, but in recent times, they have been the best duo. I like De Ligt. I think that he's had some really, really good spells. I think that he can maybe be in the mix. It's different now because we're not playing with 3 at the back. But I think the 2 of them, I think they complement each other really nicely. I think they work together. They have a really good synergy. So, yeah, for me, I think that they are. That doesn't mean to say that it's hard because we've not got as many games. It's going to be difficult the rest of this season, but you'd like to think going into next season, we're going to have European football. We're not going to mess up the cup runs as early. So you still need those players. And Yoro and Heaven, they're still very young and they've got plenty of time to kind of grow into it. But I think also, shout out to the goalkeeper, to Senny Lemons, because Arsenal targeted him with those set pieces. There's that image of like about 15 players standing in the 6-yard box for the Arsenal corner. And it literally, it looks like they're all like stuck on a tube or something. Like you could put them anywhere. But he dealt with it. He dealt with it. And some of those Arsenal players are tall. And I think that he got the ball first in a lot of moments, cleared the ball, looked very confident. You think about Andre Onana, not to be shady, but you think about him in some of those situations, we'd have been biting our nails, we'd have been so nervous. But I think it's been excellent from him. And he's also spoke about Michael Carrick being like, he's kind of just telling us to do the basics. And we're just working on those basic things of just kind of, doing what we're told and just getting the basics right. So I think also that defensively they were great. I know the Martinez own goal, but whatever. But I think the goalkeeper and Maguire and Martinez were fantastic.
Yeah, I think Harry Maguire, you look at the ride that he's had since he's come in, he's been through so many ups and downs. He's spoken about it publicly many, many times. And, what he went through when he was captain. But I think in terms of redemption arc and mentality, he's right up there because actually he's put himself into a position where he's our dominant centre-half. When people can mock it and say he might be slow and this, that and the other. When it comes down to it, Harry Maguire is very dependable.
And I think also that is a testament to Harry Maguire. But when you look across that pitch, there's been a lot of kind of redemption stories and character arcs that we've not necessarily expected. I mean, you look at Harry Maguire as an example. You look at even Bruno Fernandes, who at times, last season was kind of, not in the greatest form at the beginning of the season, managed to turn it around. You look at somebody like Casemiro. You look at someone like Amad Diallo, when he really took off, that was kind of the sink or swim moment for him where he had to kind of make it happen. You look at Kobbie Mainoo, who seems to be building his way back. I'm sure he's, a bit devoid of confidence at times, but you can see he's really getting stuck in there. And I know that we've questioned the players' mentality at times, rightly so. But you look at some of these players and you do think, you know what, we are seeing something here, and we are seeing a fight from a lot of these players.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Crookie, for you on Harry Maguire, I mean, his contract's up in the summer. We've seen us sort of announce that Casemiro won't be getting a new contract, of course, with his wages. I think we can all agree with that, and it's time. But with Harry Maguire, should we be looking to keep him for, an extra year or give him an extension of a year? We now play a formation where we don't need 3 centre-backs, we only need 2. You've got 2 young ones in Heaven and Yoro who can learn. You've got someone who's fit and strong and powerful in De Ligt, who's a top defender. You've got Martinez and you've got Maguire. Do we keep Harry Maguire for an extra year or renegotiate something that fits into a new wage structure and give him a whole new deal?
Yeah, I think definitely they'll look to renegotiate. Obviously, he's one of the club's top earners. He's 32 now. He turns 33 in March, so he's not in the first flush of youth. But I get the impression that he's not in a hurry to go anywhere. I think he still enjoys being a Manchester United player, and I think he's shown tremendous character throughout his United career because he's had so many knockbacks along the way, so many doubters. But he was a colossus against Arsenal and in the derby. He's fully fit now, which I think is huge. And who knows, with John Stones showing those signs of returning to fitness anytime soon, does Thomas Tuchel need a bit of experience at the back in that England World Cup squad? Could there yet be a place on the plane for North America next summer? That would be a brilliant comeback story for Maguire, if you like. There is interest from elsewhere. I've heard of clubs in Serie A. Chelsea got mentioned earlier this week. We know they've got historic interest in Harry Maguire.
Well, we can't go there. I think we won't let him do that. We'll give him a new contract before that.
Well, I think United will look to tie him down, but as you say, I think it will have to be on reduced terms. But you look at those younger players. I think Lenny Yoro has had a very difficult season so far. Aiden Heaven has had moments where he's looked really good, but he's far from the finished product. We can't rely on Matthijs de Ligt to stay fit. And if we're looking to invest money in other areas of the team in the summer, and clearly the midfield is going to be central to that, then it's a no-brainer, really, if you've got the opportunity to effectively keep Harry Maguire without paying a transfer fee and just try and reduce his wages. I think they should probably do it.
Yeah, I agree. I really do agree on that. Let's talk Matheus Cunha, Ange.
Yeah.
Because, listen, the impact off the bench was incredible, of course. What a goal he scored. He was also a sub against Manchester City, comes on, gets essentially 2 assists, but 1 scrubbed out. He's showing why we've bought him.
Yeah.
But is there a conundrum for Carrick now about what his best role in the team is? Because we bought him as an inside 10 because under Ruben Amorim we played with 2 10s. It was perfect for him. He played that system at Wolves. Now we've gone to essentially a 4-4-2. Is Cunha's best position on the left? And should he be starting games over Dorgu, or is it just a really good problem to have?
I think it's a good problem to have, and it's something that we've seen from Michael Carrick the last time that he was in the dugout for Manchester United. He wasn't afraid to make those big decisions. But as much as Cunha's been effective coming off the bench, maybe scoring that goal, might have earned him a starting place. And also, you do have to play different players for different situations. I think looking at the Fulham game, I know that Cunha has scored some good goals against Fulham. That doesn't mean he has to be in the starting 11, but he seems to suit that game a little bit more in my mind than Patrick Dorgu.
We should be on the front foot more against Fulham, have to come out and play. Yeah. It's not going to be sitting in. We'll have to go after Fulham.
Yeah, so I think that he might be better suited, and that's no disrespect to Dorgu, because as much as we laugh and joke, and I am sorry, but he was absolutely fantastic, and I'm loving seeing this because we want our Man United players to play well. But it also, I'm not saying that Cunha's not been successful. I think there's been moments where we've needed a little bit more from him, but in the big games he has stepped up to the plate. But there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of competition, and some players respond to that really well. So I don't think I don't think it's too big of a headache at this point. I think that you have to respect that Michael Carrick needs to kind of figure things out for these final 16 games. So, yeah, I think it'll be fine. And we've also got to think next season, like I keep saying, we should be in 4 competitions. There's plenty of games to be played.
Yeah, I remember it wasn't so long ago that people were telling us when we were about to buy Matheus Cunha that his attitude's poor, you got to watch out for him, he's got this nasty streak and this, that and the other. Listen, the guy's been dropped for 2 of our biggest, I say dropped, rotated, put on the bench, for 2 of our biggest games of the season with a new manager in there. And he's come on in both games with a fantastic attitude, playing for the team, running for the team, having output in terms of, goals and assists. What more do you want from him? Coming off the back of what happened under Amorim as well, which was awful. Not once has he lost his head. Not once has he not played for the team. You look at that performance at Anfield that he had. Look at the performance at Leeds that he had to get us a point out of that game. Performances at home against, I think, Bournemouth and Sunderland, I think it was. He's also, Brighton was the other one. So this notion that he's got a bad attitude, as Isak would do, mate. Do one with that. Crookie, Brian and Brumo. He's been absolutely brilliant. Another player, top-notch attitude, whether he's playing as a right 10, right winger, false 9. He is scoring goals and big goals as well. He scored in all the big games this season. He scored away at Anfield. He scored at home to Manchester City. He scored away at Arsenal and all the other goals I can't remember right now. But those are the pick of the bunch. Is he looking more like he's going to be a striker now? Does this spell a little bit of trouble for Benjamin Sesko? You touched on it there. Or is it, again, just another good problem for Michael Carrick to have because we're actually building a squad of good players?
It's a nice problem for the manager, but it's not great if you're one of those players who are on the bench because United are already out the League Cup. Obviously, no European football this season. It is 1 game a week, which means that players have plenty of time to rest and recover. There's no reason, assuming that Patrick Dorgu has recovered from that late injury, that Michael Carrick can't simply name the same team for the 3rd game in a row. And why would you change it? Because Mbeumo is thriving in that false number 9 position. Dorgu, as we've said, is looking like a totally different player, much further forward than he was when he was a left wing back. So how do Šeško and Cunha get back in the starting lineup? And the risk, if you're Michael Carrick, you've won 2 from 2, you've scored 5 goals, you kept a clean sheet in your last home game. If you do make changes because you want to give those players an opportunity and it backfires and you drop points, then all of a sudden he's going to be under the microscope, isn't he?
Yeah, and it's really interesting when you look at good problems to have. Just some of the stats regarding some players. You look at Dorgu, this is his 5th goal involvement in the last 6 games. He got 1 in his first 27. And he's got 5 in the last 6 in terms of goal involvements. He scored 3 goals in the last 6 Premier League games for Man United after not scoring in any of his first 28 in the competition. He already has more goals under Michael Carrick, 2 and 2, than he had under Ruben Amorim, which was 1 goal in 31. So again, there's something there that's been unearthed. You look at some of the other stats we've got here. 3 strikes from Patrick Dorgu and Matheus Cunha. Man United were the first visiting team to score 2 or more goals from outside of the box away at Arsenal in the Premier League since Spurs in 08 with Genius and Bentley.
Yeah.
So
I have that wrote down. That says it all, that how rare it is to be able to do that and the quality of the players that we do have. And also in Mbeumo, first United player to score against Arsenal, City and Liverpool in his debut season since Van Persie.
Look at that.
He's a big
Who
game
needs
player.
Ryan? Who needs Ryan when we've got Ange?
But no, I can't hate on Ryan. But one thing I will say when you think about that, you look at the signings that we made. You look at Mbeumo, you look at Cunha, you look at Šeško. All 3 of them, whatever your opinion is on their form, all 3 of them were sought after during the transfer window. I bet if you speak to an honest Arsenal fan, Gyökeres, Eze, Madueke, all 3 of them struggled in that game going forward. And I just think that you would, if you ask them honestly, I think they'd take the 3 players that we brought
I've seen them saying it.
Yeah.
I've seen them saying it.
Because Šeško's not perfect, but he's a lot younger than Viktor Gyökeres, who was completely tanked. Šeško's still got it in him to develop into a world-class striker. And like we say, Mbeumo and Cunha, big game players. And I just think it's funny that when you look at the comparison, I'm sure that they'd snap our arm off for those 3 players.
Yeah, exactly. We do have to talk about what it looks like going forward, right? Because this was a game, Crookie, that was very similar to the Manchester City game, right? We understand the assignment, and I think there was differences in the performance because
I was going to say, I think tactically it was the polar opposite, really.
It was, because obviously City, we could go after them, we could press, we could be on the front foot, and in Arsenal, you have to, be a bit more reserved, you have to be more compact. But Fulham comes with a different set of expectations in terms we might face a team. I know, listen, they're very confident right now, by the way, playing very, very well. Ask Harry Wilson how he's playing. But they could potentially sit off us. They could, the owners could be completely on us. Whereas the last 2 games, you could argue we weren't expected to win, etc., etc. How does Michael Carrick evolve from here? Is it more of the same, or does he need to show yet another page out of his coaching book to show why he's doing a good job? Because this is going to come with slightly different demands than the previous 2 games.
Yeah, I think this is a totally different test from anything that Michael Carrick has faced, not just in this short stint in charge, but actually if you go back to his first spell in interim, it was Chelsea, Arsenal, and a Champions League game, I think, against Villarreal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. We won that as well, and that was a tough game to win.
So this is another unique challenge, really. I was at Craven Cottage at the weekend. Fulham probably weren't the best team against Brighton, but they seem to have this steeliness and determination and this willpower to get over the line. Harry Wilson has come up with a brilliant goal, albeit one that probably Bart Verbruggen should have saved at the end. So they're going to be a tricky challenge. It was a tough game down at Craven Cottage. If you remember, when United started really well, missed chances, and then probably were a bit fortunate to come away with a point. So he's probably going to have to come up with a game plan that is somewhere in between the 2 matches, because Fulham do have threats on the counter that we're going to have to be aware of. But also the onus really is on United to take the game to Marco Silva's side. And this is the acid test, because as I said right at the top, this bunch of players have always got a performance in them away at Anfield, at the Emirates, in an FA Cup final against Manchester City. But can they do it in a home game that they're expected to win? And you look at this season in particular, that too often is where we come up short. When we had the opportunity to cement ourselves in the top 4, against Everton at home with 10 men, against Wolves at home, even against Bournemouth, you score 4 goals and you don't win the game. So I think we're going to learn a lot more about whether this is genuinely a turning point, or whether it's just the feel-good factor and the fact they've been up against 2 top-class sides for the first 2 games.
Yeah, Crook is sort of suggesting that we need some patience there. Right, and after more than impressing in his first 2 games against the best sides in the league, there's been lots of talk about Michael Carrick and should he get the job on a full-time basis at the end of the season. And is it... I know I spoke about getting carried away at the beginning of the show. That was just us getting giddy as United fans. In terms of the conversation steering after 2 games that Michael Carrick should be getting the permanent job here, is it too early to have those type of conversations, or is it fair, or at the very least, should he already be having to be considered for the permanent job?
I understand why the question is being asked. I understand why he's being asked. I understand why it's a topic of discussion. For me personally, I just think it's a bit too soon, and I don't really think that we need that pressure at the moment, because I think we just need to focus on this final stretch of the Premier League season, us getting into Europe. I think that is my personal focus. But I get why people are saying it. I do just think it's a little bit early for this. I think a lot of people have obviously got PTSD from the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer situation. And I know that I really like that Wayne Rooney and Michael Carrick are clearly friends. Reportedly, they were in Barbados with Johnny Evans for New Year's and all that type of stuff. I love how Rooney is riding for his man.
Yeah.
Like, he's saying, well, he was at an academy game. Ruben Amorim wasn't seen. And Ruben Amorim, to be fair, was not pictured at any of these games. I think he saw a game at Carrington, and that is great that Michael Carrick is doing that. It's a bit of a reach from Rooney, but I like that he's backing his man in that sense. And yeah, that is lovely. But I guess when you've only got 1 game a week, you probably have got a little bit more spare time to be going and watching those games. But I do just think that we need to take a beat. And I'm not saying completely be totally delusional and just live in the moment, but in a way it's okay to just kind of accept what's happening now and enjoy it. I think that conversation can come a little bit later. I think that he definitely deserves his props, because these 2 games that we've played, we have played very exciting football against 2 teams that aren't really that exciting to watch, if you're being completely honest. I mean, you know, Man City normally attempt to play, you know, piggy in the middle rather than an actual football match. You know, you don't really see them kind of scoring those goals that we scored from outside the box. You'd normally expect them to kind of pass it to the side. Arsenal, you know, described as a little bit robotic at times. To be able to go into both those games, approach them tactically, but do it, like I mentioned earlier, with exciting football, you know, he has to be praised for that. I agree with Crookie. I think that Fulham will be the real test to see if things have actually turned round, because it is the easier teams that Man United have struggled to beat. But I think we enjoy it for what it is. I can't say if he should or shouldn't be the manager.
Yeah.
I don't have enough evidence yet.
You have to just wait.
But I get why people are getting excited, but I think we just need to just live in the moment.
Crookie, has Roy Keane gone too far the other way? Because he's adamant that no matter what happens, Michael Carrick definitely shouldn't get the job. Obviously, he's had some
vendetta, though.
Exactly, he's had some personal.
He's letting
beefs,
it get the best of him, I think.
With him, he's had some things to say, and people have, you know, put a whole string of personal situations that he's saying when it's coming with Carrick versus when he's talking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But now all of a sudden Carrick definitely shouldn't get it. Do you agree with that sentiment, that no matter what happens he shouldn't get it, and or not?
I think probably that's going too far. But you take Roy Keane's personal grievances aside, I can understand the argument for saying it, because we've been down this road before. We all got too swept up in what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did in what was actually quite a favourable run of fixtures as interim manager. Certainly you can't accuse Carrick of having a favourable start to his tenure. But there are very few examples, actually, if you go back through the Premier League era, where a caretaker manager comes in, does well, gets the job and continues to do well. I think more often than not, it unravels quite quickly. I think it's far too early to even be having this debate. I don't want to get involved in the conversation, really, because it is only 2 games. There are another, 15 have we got left now between now and the end of the season? So let's judge him then. If we get to the end of the season and we qualified for the Champions League and we've won even 13 out of his 17 games, then I think he's got a genuine case to go knocking on Sir Jim Ratcliffe's door and saying, look, what more could I do? Give me the job full time. That's if he wants it, of course. And he was asked in the radio interviews after the game at the weekend, it is far too early to talk about you getting the job permanently. And he just gave a one-word answer. He just said yes and moved on to the next topic. So I think he's aware that this is very much a short-term job that he's been given to try and qualify for Europe, try and get in the Champions League if we can, and then see what happens after that. But as I say, if he wins a massive percentage of games, then it would be a risk, wouldn't it, to replace him and bring in someone like Thomas Tuchel and have to start all over again.
Yeah, exactly. I've been sort of flirting with the idea of what it looks like, because at the start, that sort of PTSD and being scarred from what happened with Ole just immediately makes me think, right, we'll get Carrick in to calm it down, but by any means is he supposed to get this job. That's fine. I'm comfortable with that. And then you go and get, like you say, a Tuchel, Nagelsmann, Enrique, etc. Go and get a proper manager. But I've probably been a little bit naive in terms of thinking just because it happened with Ole, it means it's going to happen with Carrick. They are also sort of polar opposite coaches. The way that Michael Carrick is playing football, different team. The way Michael Carrick is setting this team up and the way he's playing seems, after 2 games, we still have to wait and see. I'm talking about if we get to the situation where in the summer he has actually put the work in and got us into the top 4. He would have done it in a way that wouldn't have looked like Ole, in my opinion, with the 2 contrasts of how the coaches are. So we also can't, just because we've made mistakes in the past, not be scared to reset. It's like if we go and get a big manager, it's the same thing. We've had Mourinho, we've had Van Gaal, we've also done that before. We're in a case now where we've actually done everything. We just need to keep probing, keep doing things until we get to the right guy, whoever that may be. And maybe our past failures shouldn't just cloud our judgment too much going forward. Otherwise, we won't do anything.
Before we crack on with this debate, just got a message in the talkSPORT breaking news group. Not good news, I'm afraid. The Athletic are reporting that Patrick Dorgu's injury is going to keep him out for 10 weeks. It's quite a serious hamstring issue.
Dorgu.
What awful look.
And you know what, when he went down injured, I thought, is that just, it's very rarely precaution with the hamstring. It means at least a few weeks, but 10 weeks for Ballon Dorgu.
Well, that answers our question, though, doesn't it? Sorry, that nickname.
Dorgy best, yeah.
Just made me chuckle.
Cunha, there you go. There's your extended run on the left. Don't worry about that.
Oh,
that's a real sickener, that.
That is so... I mean, not that you want anyone to be injured, but of all the people, you've had, a stinker of a season so far, let's be honest. You've had your manager come out and say, I'm nervous every time that he's got hold of the ball. And he's come back from that and he's fought and he's worked really hard. Because like I said last week, a lot of journalists have been speaking about him. A few people have interviewed him and he really has apparently got to work, especially after Ruben Amorim came out and, dogged him out to the media. You then have this dream set up under Michael Carrick. You score these absolutely fantastic goals. That goal against Arsenal, one of the best goals we will see in this Premier League season, 1,000%. So to then have an injury just when everything's starting to click, the pieces of the puzzle are coming together, you're living out, playing at Old Trafford, playing, scoring these goals against Arsenal, one of our biggest rivals. Such a shame for him. Such a shame. I feel so bad for him.
It is 10 weeks, man. I mean, that's going into 3-month territory, really.
I mean, he's impressed us so far. Could he become a medical marvel and somehow
not 10 weeks.
No.
Well, the message I've just had from a source at United is that it's still being assessed and timescale not clear at this stage, but
I think
it doesn't sound particularly positive, does it? And I do wonder, and I know we were going to come on to this, should this change the approach in the final week of the transfer window now? Because the squad looks light. I know Michael Carrick ideally would love another body in midfield. The club stance is we're not going to do anything for the short term. If an opportunity became available that would benefit the club long term, then yes, we would look at it. But I think he's earned the right with these 2 games, Michael Carrick, and with this news about Dorgu, to ask Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada, look, just give me a little bit of help here. Just get me a couple of bodies in on loan for the rest of the season, and we've got a real chance of getting in the top 4 or 5.
I think it just depends. We were going to get to transfers, and we've got there quite naturally. I'm not sure, guys. I'm not sure because I think there's 1 game a week. The team is settled. We've got a few competition for places now. We've lost a massive player who really this is a sickening blow.
But what if Cunha picks up an injury as well? What you can do down that left hand side then? I guess you got Mason Mount.
You got Ahmad and Bruno.
Mason Mount isn't reliable when it comes to injuries.
I'm just saying, do we risk upsetting the balance of bringing in people for the sake of bringing in people? They don't play, or they start to play instead of the guys who have been settled.
Depends who
and
it is.
I just think for 15 games with no other competitions. I don't know. I'm worried that we just go chasing after it out of panic when it's like, okay, listen, it's a big blow. Dorgu's injured, but I think we can get through. I honestly do. Listen, I'm not. If there's somebody to get, fine. If there's something that works on loan, I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying if the door slams shut and we don't, I don't think that's a catastrophe personally.
It's a hard one because it depends who it is. If it's a name that you think could realistically help out, if it's a name that you're a little bit unsure of, they might be more of a hindrance than they would be a help in reality. It depends. I mean, Crook, is there anyone... I mean, I know you've only just got this news about Dorgu, but I guess we're going to talk about transfers.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, have there been any whispers of anyone?
Well, I did a piece in the Notebook last week saying that Ruben Loftus-Cheek had been offered to United. There was also talk of Wilfred and Ndidi. I think that was more if Ollie got the job because obviously he played with him at Besiktas. So I think, as I say, that midfield area was what they were potentially looking at. But again, message from my source of the club, I've asked, do you think this could change the approach in the window? They say they'd be surprised if it does alter their thinking. So it might be that Michael Carrick has to go with what he's got for the rest of the season. I would personally take a Loftus-Cheek on loan just for that extra body, that extra option off the bench. I know he's had a check at injury history as well, but it's not an expensive deal to do. I just think it'd be such a shame in this position with a decent set of fixtures on the horizon between now and the end of the season, if we were to fall up short in terms of getting a Champions League place because we picked up too many injuries and we had to go in with the type of squad we had in that game against Newcastle at Old Trafford. I think they'd be kicking themselves the hierarchy because maybe it's an opportunity they didn't foresee at the start of the season. I don't think any of us expected Liverpool to drop off a cliff as much as they have. I think we all expected that Thomas Frank might get Tottenham in a more competitive position. They're not. Even Chelsea, they've gone from Enzo Maresca, who won the Club World Cup, to a rookie and Liam Rosenior. So I do think 4th and 5th is there for United.
Yeah, it is. Listen, I know this isn't for January. This isn't the time we're talking as something that is able to happen. But Cole Palmer, Crookie, we have seen some reports saying that, he's homesick and he would be interested in a move back to Manchester United. Of course, not now in January, maybe not even this summer. But how true do you think that is about just the situation that is around Cole Palmer and these reports that are claiming that he would be interested to that in the near future?
Well, listen, he's never someone who plays with a smile on his face. But I think you look at his demeanour and his body language when I've been at Stamford Bridge recently, and he looks like he'd rather be anywhere else now. I think that's partly because he's still not fully fit and maybe he doesn't trust his body, so he's not able to put a complete shift in, which is frustrating. But I do think he's very much a Manchester boy, Wythenshawe born, spends a lot of time still up in the northwest. So I think if he got the opportunity to go back, then it's certainly one that he would consider. I don't think it's seen as a priority position for United in the summer. We know they want to strengthen in midfield, but the three names on their list are still very much Carlos Baleba, Adam Wharton and Elliot Anderson. As I said before, I wouldn't rule out trying to sign two of those three. So I don't really see where they get the money for Cole Palmer. But if Bruno Fernandes goes, as is a possibility, then maybe there would be a role there for him. But Chelsea are going to demand well in excess of 100 million. So I just don't see how it stacks up for United. And it opens up a separate debate on Bruno Fernandes, who I thought, again, was brilliant in the game against Arsenal. His range of passing, his bravery on the ball, his ability to turn defence into attack. Again, now that Michael Carrick is playing him in his proper position, I think we've got to pull out all the stops to keep Bruno Fernandes. If you said to me now, on form, would you rather keep an ageing Bruno Fernandes or bring in a younger modelling Cole Palmer? I'm going to stick with Bruno, guys. I'm going to stick with Bruno.
Is that the right take there? And you said you agree, because it is that one where you know what you're getting with Bruno Fernandes, but you have to plan for the future without him. But it's a big shout. If you're going to say no to that much goals and assists and that much output, that much, numbers on paper, is Cole Palmer going to be the man to consistently do what Bruno Fernandes has been doing?
It's a really difficult one, because I do want to make clear that Cole Palmer, on his day, is a fantastic footballer. He clearly does have a lot of talent and he's had some wonderful moments. But the problem here is he's injured. He needs surgery. Manchester United, as much as there are so many issues with those owners, you'd like to think that they would know better than to buy an injured player and almost do another, Mason Mount situation. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's not Cole Palmer's fault. He clearly does have an issue, but I do think it is a risk to bring in a player that has had so many struggles this season, and I do feel bad for him. To bring him in, I think, is a risk. I understand the idea of Bruno Fernandes is 31, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
So,
He's a freak, though, isn't it, when it comes to fitness? He's Ronaldo levels.
Yeah,
this is exactly
another 3-4 years.
This is exactly what I'm going to say. I think long term, Cole Palmer's 23. He's quite young. I think that idea of bringing somebody younger in and a changing of the guard eventually is something that we should do. But you look at Bruno Fernandes. He's 31 years of age. You know exactly what you get with him. We know exactly what he can do. Also, we do have other people that can fit into that role. I'm not saying they're as good as Bruno Fernandes, but we do have players that can play in his position. So it's not like we've got a drought there. And we do need to prioritise somebody more in that midfield, especially with the Casemiro news, etc. And also, like you say, Crook, Bruno Fernandes does not get injured. He has an amazing record. And I think that is a massive, massive selling point. We don't want to sell him, but, for someone else, it's a massive selling point. So as much as I appreciate the talent of Cole Palmer, as things stand, I agree with Crook, and I think you don't want to upset the apple cart. We know exactly what we're getting with Bruno Fernandes. He has shown up for this club time and time again. I understand if people come knocking and there's a certain amount of money on the table. I get why the hierarchy would maybe look at it, but I just think at the moment for us, he's irreplaceable.
He is irreplaceable. And Crookie, last one on transfers. You did touch on it a little while ago about how important the summer is and the three key names. Who's the most likely out of Wharton, Baleba and Anderson for Manchester United? Who is the one they really want?
It seems to be that Baleba is top of that list. And I've got to say, he played really well in the game I was at Craven Cottage at the weekend, because he's not had a brilliant season, but by all accounts, United are not put off by his form. They feel like maybe he's been affected by all the speculation. So, yeah, I would put him at the top of the list, and then toss of a coin, I think, between the other two. I think maybe the perception is that Adam Wharton is going to be an easier player to get out of Palace, given that they are a selling club, than maybe to persuade Evangelos Marinakis, tough negotiator, to sell Elliot Anderson. So certainly an interesting one. The other name that got mentioned to me by a good source this week was the boy Siddiqui at Sunderland. He's also on the list.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's going to be an interesting summer. We know we need to rebuild in midfield on top of the last summer that we had, which clearly was very successful. Right, it's back to Old Trafford this coming Sunday as we are back in action against Fulham, hoping to complete a hat-trick of wins. And we know about Patrick Dorgu now, being injured for some time, so he's obviously going to be missing from the side for a long time. Is this just as simple as Matheus Cunha takes his spot? And how do you think Carrick will approach this game compared to City and Arsenal?
Yeah, I think you bring Cunha in. I think, as Crook touched on earlier, I think that this win would be a very good indicator that it isn't just a new manager bounce. Things are starting to turn around. You know, we're facing a side less likely to dominate the ball. This is an issue that we've faced before, so I'm interested to see how he tackles it. Fulham are a good team. They're like seventh.
They're playing well, mate.
How did that happen? I mean, Harry Wilson's been in the form of his life. Only lost once in the last 8 games in all competitions. And I think, you know, the win against Brighton, I know there was the Welbeck goal that was ruled offside that was, you know, we won't get into a VAR discussion, but, you know, that was, you know, that didn't go through and they were maybe lucky in certain ways. I think that, you know, Šeško, you look at, you know, Fulham have had, you know, they've got some tall centre-backs. They're not particularly quick. Maybe a good opposition for Šeško, but also I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Mbeumo, so I wouldn't be too mad at that. So, yeah, I think it will be an interesting one with the Dorgu news, like you say, Cunha definitely in there, but this is arguably in some ways bigger than the City and the Arsenal game because
this is the game, isn't it? These types of games.
These are the types of games that we slip up massively. So with our track record, especially under Ruben Amorim. So I'm interested to see how he tackles this. But this has got to be a convincing win. Yeah,
it does. Crookie, for you, any other changes that you would look at apart from the one forced upon Carrick?
He's been on a good track record selecting these teams.
He has. Team selections and results.
Yeah.
No, I think it'll be the one change. You know, again, I think it's harsh on Šeško, but maybe Michael Carrick has stumbled upon something with Mbeumo in that false number 9 position. So assuming everybody comes through the rest of the week's training okay, I would just bring in Cunha for the injured Dorgu. I don't know about a convincing win, by the way. I would take any kind of
just win.
Yeah, true.
Because they are a good side, Fulham. All I would say is they don't score a lot of goals away from home. I was just totting up there 3 goals in their last 4 away games. So I think if United can score twice, I think we win the game.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I feel like this new lease of life, this freshness about what we're doing, Old Trafford's going to be absolutely rocking. You know, against Manchester City, everybody showed their support for Carrick, etc. Now the fans who didn't get to travel away and are all going to flock back to Old Trafford to see the boys, they're going to be so excited. They're going to be so pumped. And I think the players will respond. The confidence is going to be oozing through the veins of the players from that Arsenal performance. And, of course, the last home game should manufacture itself into another solid performance. One, you know, definitely good enough anyway to get the win. And I agree with you, Cricket. It doesn't have to be amazing, but I still think we're going to be on the front foot, confident, creating chances. And I think we get the job done. Right, let's go around the room before we wrap up. Ange, what's your scoreline?
Oh, it's a tough one. Let's see, Crook just said 2 goals, so now I'm thinking 2-1. No, I'm going to...
1-0? Is that what you thought?
No, I'm going to go 3-1.
Okay, and just gone
United
3-1.
win,
She's locked that in. Crookie, what you got?
I am going to go 2-1. Yeah, 2-1 United.
Crookie's always got a 2-1 in him, isn't he? I'm going to go 2-0. I feel we're just going to get it done. I think we're going to be able to get a routine win against a really good team, which is going to even more feed into what's going on, of like how excited we are and what's going on. So, no, top stuff. Crookie, it's always a pleasure. Ange, it's always a pleasure. And it's always a pleasure coming back on here with you guys when we've got back-to-back wins. And now we're looking to get to par. Where we got with Amorim, we got to 3, and then Frank can look at the next 2 for the big haircut. But for now, it's game by game. We keep humble. A big miss for Patrick Dorgu. We really wish him a speedy recovery. But over to you, Matheus Cunha. Go and get us those goals. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Inside Devils.